Welcome, everybody, to It Tastes Different Game Reviews. What we're reviewing today, Star Ocean, The Divine Force. Star Ocean, The Divine Force, released October 27th of this year. It is a JRPG developed by, published by Square Enix, developed by Tri-Ace. It's basically shot out on everything: PlayStation 4s, 5, Xbox One, Series X, S, Microsoft Windows. It is, like I said, it's a Japanese RPG, which you can kind of know what to expect there. It's got kind of an older style to it, which is nothing wrong in my opinion. Let's jump straight to Nick, because there isn't a one he hasn't played, and I believe the one before last was his absolute favorite. So, Nick, what do you think about the Divine Force? Is it divine?
It is divine. Star Ocean is making a comeback. Luckily, because the last Star Ocean was horrible. So it was great that this Star Ocean is actually really good. It's not without its faults, but it is definitely a really good JRPG, and it's a really good Star Ocean. I really enjoyed this one. I like the cast of characters they have here. Ray, they have two, which is pretty common for Star Ocean, but they have two main characters that you can choose from, Leticia and Ray. And Ray, at first, you think surfer space dude, but as you continue to play the game, you'll really come to like Ray, and you really come to like all the characters, I think. So even though they look wacky at first and some of them look kind of dumb, but after a while, because it's all voice acted, so after a while and getting to know the characters, you're like, I like that character. Now I've started out with Ray, because you can start out with Leticia or Ray. I started out with Ray, and at first I wasn't quite sure about Ray, but after as the game progresses, I really liked him as a character. But I like, everything about it is JRPG, and I love JRPGs, especially really good ones, and this is one of those really good ones. They've introduced the Duma, which is this little flying robot, which allows you to fly around and do these flying attacks and various other things, all sorts of stuff. They have these really open world environments that, it's enemies and trees and various things like that. Not really much going on besides going from point A to point B, but it's nice. There's some collectibles and items to pick up along the way, and then you can use your little Duma thing to fly around and glide around the sky and stuff like that, and get to it's got some vertical looting and vertical going up places that you can't typically see. You could fly your little space orb up there, and get up to higher locations to get items and chests and various things like that. So it's nice to have a map that puts some verticality into play, instead of just being most RPGs where it's usually just a flat plane that you're going across, and there's treasure chests and hidden tunnels and various things like that. There's still hidden tunnels and various things like that, but like I said, they play with that vertical up and down environment within the game. And even in the towns and stuff, you can fly up on top of the buildings and get stuff and everything like that. But the game overall is really fun. It's a lot of fun to play. A lot of cutscenes, and everything's pretty much voice acted. You got a ton of skills. You get skill points for fighting and everything like that, and you can apply your skill points to a skill tree, upgrade your skill levels, upgrade your passive skills, your active skills, your Duma skills, your skills, your crafting skills. I mean, there are so many things to put points into. You're kind of overwhelmed with the amount of things that you can put points into, where you're kind of like, I don't know what to do with this. But it's, your skill tree is also quite big, which you could unlock everything in it. But when you're starting out, you kind of say, I want to focus on more combat. So I'm going to kind of go down that combat line in your skill tree and kind of focus on that, and kind of stay away from magic, maybe, if you want to just be more of a powerhouse, right? You'll eventually start unlocking that stuff on the magic side, but you kind of want to follow this line maybe that's the way you play. Maybe you're a player that just wants to, start from the center and just keep going out, right? In all sorts of directions. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in the type of skills that you want to unlock for your characters. And you can unlock new combos and assign those combos to the characters. They have each here, I think it's square, triangle, and I played it on PlayStation. Square, triangle, circle has different combo trees, and you can mix and match combos within those trees, even ones where you can hold down the button to do like a whatever type of big action you want to do, big sword swing or whatever the case, whatever that combo is, whatever that magic piece is, maybe shooting out ice crystals or something like that. But I mean, whatever it is, right? All sorts of stuff. I mean, this game is full of stuff to do, and you will not get bored in finding something to do. There's side quests, things to explore, story missions to go on, side missions to go on, things to, a pretty big crafting system. I mean, this game's got it all. It's got a ton of stuff. But I don't want to take away everything, even though it might sound like it did. So let's go to Pat. Pat, what do you think?
I think they consulted Exhibit when they made this game, because he's like, yo, dog, I heard you like skill points on your skill points, and skill trees within your skill trees. There's a lot. I mean, it's a typical true JRPG, right? There's just skill trees out the wazoo, and everything takes SP, which is like not enough SP to ever go around. Yeah, there is, I picked the same thing. I picked Ray to start with as well, the dude. Just because I haven't played a Star Ocean game in a very long time. I didn't play the last one that Nick said was really, really bad, and so it's been a while. But I'm a fan of JRPGs. True to its fashion, there's a lot of reading, a lot of going through different menus and learning what you can and can't do, because every time you open a menu in the beginning of the game, it's got a little tooltip at the beginning, and you're like, okay, what am I reading here? Okay, cool. I think I got that. I think they got that. And then you come back and you're like, what was that again? So there is a lot to do in this game and a lot to get lost on. The skill tree is pretty daunting, because you're like, especially when I'm looking at my companions going, where do I push them down? Because when you first start out, you're like, okay, I got these two companions, but I don't really, what do they excel at? What should I pump their skills into? The typical conundrum of where do I focus my companions? Or am I going to get a companion that I just would prefer to run with later down the road? Typical JRPG stuff. I don't like these companions. Maybe I'll get another one, stuff like that. I was expecting a little bit more space opera, not as much backwoods helping out the neighbors type thing, but I'm not gotten too far into this game. So maybe, because Star Ocean's all about the whole space opera trope, and things like that. And really the only space opera I've gotten so far is me crashing on this backwater planet and running around doing a bunch of stuff to help them fix their stuff and the plights of their kingdom. So, hopefully it gets better. I'm sure it will. It's Star Ocean. It's a long ass game, So, they could have cleaned up a few things. I don't like the way the side quests operate in this game. They're a little bit confusing on how to track them and how to go do stuff. It's not like I can go to a menu and just be like, where's my thing? I got to go to the map and find them and do all this. So I'm a little bit annoyed with that stuff, but overall it's a fun game. Combat is very quick in this game. It's like blinking, it's just about over with. But the companions seem, I don't know, maybe it's just my companion, but my companions always seem to take a whooping pretty rough, I'm like, what are you guys doing back there? So maybe a little bit better AI. Luckily, thanks to Nick, he played the game earlier on Xbox for us and gave us forewarning that we didn't want to play this on Xbox. And unfortunately, Nick did buy it on Xbox. So, he even confirmed that the demo was just the same as the regular game. So, but it's Star Ocean. If you like Star Ocean, especially classic style Star Ocean, you're going to love this, because it's more of the same, in my opinion. It does, to me, it seemed a little bit graphically dated, but that's just me. I was looking for a little bit more oomph from the money, oomph for the times, not necessarily the money, but oomph for the times of what we're in. It did seem to be a little bit more polygonish than I thought it would be. I was looking for a little bit more smoothed out, a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more in the graphics area. But it may be because maybe I haven't gotten into the space opera tropes part of it yet, because I've been playing for quite a while and I'm still on the stinking planet, So Shane, what do you think, man? What do you think about this version of Star Ocean that we've got so far?
I typically enjoy the Star Ocean series. The Last Hope was my favorite, and this one is probably just as good. I'd say probably just as good. The combat is a blast because the combat is simple enough, but yet you got a lot of things you can do for those harder bosses that require a lot more skill instead of just smash and bash. I absolutely hate the amount of places I can shove a skill point. That is my biggest complaint about. That'd be my biggest complaint about the game. It's too much. It is really too much. I got to the point where I stopped putting it into all the other junk and I concentrated on the skill tree. I just quit worrying about it until, I'm starting to get my butt thrashed a little bit. Then, I'll throw some stuff here and there in the other spots, but there's like 20 different places you can throw skill points. It's freaking ridiculous. And the Duma alone, luckily, is its own thing. You can collect little orb deals. So that's that's better. At least I can keep that in track. I can't multitask that amount of little stuff. I can't do it. That is my biggest complaint about this game. The games have always had, some management stuff going on, but never to this extent that I can remember. That's definitely my biggest complaint. My other complaint is the open world portions are kind of blank. Not like they've never been, better. They're blank. You go around this mountain or this tree or whatever, but it's all pretty much open terrain with a few little obstacles here and there. But Nick is right that now we have vertical stuff we could hit. Now we can fly up and land on top of this little hill and find treasure boxes or caves.
Find a little girl's missing cat.
Yeah, that damn girl with her. She's lucky she got that cat back that didn't come with rice. I was not happy with that mission. But the game is fun. It truly is fun. It's very micromanagement, which takes away some of that fun. But the game overall is fun. I love the character. I started off with Leticia because, well, I like to look at girls when I play a game. I'd rather do it. Just me. I'm not sure if there's any differences at the beginning with your story, how it kind of progresses between the two characters, because you could switch through your characters. You could switch, who you're going to be playing as, not story wise, but as combat. So I don't know if there's any difference in story pathing that I've seen. I haven't. But I would like to see this game go to a newer graphics engine, because Pat's right. It does seem last gen, like early last gen at its peak. I mean, the game is really dated on character. Their character designs are atypical, but the world is not as pretty as it could be. They need to do something, because Star Ocean: The Last Hope wasn't much uglier than this. It really wasn't, and I love that game. So I don't know. I think this game is great overall. It's just it has some things that bug the crap out of me. The open world portions, and the major micromanaging of the skill points and where you can shove everything. That's difficult for me. I mean, I don't mind, skill trees at all. I love a good skill tree. And I don't mind throwing some points into X, Y, and Z, but not X, Y, Z, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 9, 15, square route. It's freaking too much for me. I can't handle all that. Granted, that's on me. Nick's probably over there loving. I'm going to put a point here. I'm going to put a point there. You get a point. You get a point. You get a point. I can't do that. That's just too much for for me to handle. So, but overall, I enjoy the game, and it's worth every dime. And I didn't play the last one because Nick basically gave me a warning shot on that one, so I avoided it completely. But Nick, before the game released, you played the demo, and now me personally, I don't see anything that's not design wise graphically wrong with it on the Series X version. But you said the demos played really different between PlayStation and Xbox. Why don't you tell us about that? And did you experience that in the game, in the full games?
Yeah, the demo on Xbox, when the demo was out. Now they've said they've fixed some of this stuff, and I'm sure some of it can be fixed with patches and stuff like that. I'm sure the Xbox version will get up to snuff with the PlayStation 5 version. But the demo for the Xbox, like through the very first area, you go through these ruins. It's the very first of the game. The game, let's say the game runs at 60 frames per second or maybe 30 frames, whatever it is. On the Xbox, like through those ruins, it was stuttering so badly that I was probably down into, at certain points, probably down into like 5 frames a second. I mean, through that entire section. When I switched over to the PlayStation, I downloaded the demo for that and had 0 frame drops. It played perfectly from beginning to end. When I bought the game on the Xbox, the frame rate issues seem to have fixed those. I didn't really run into those on the full release version. But one thing I noticed on the Xbox version is in the graphics option, it is missing the HDR option. Whereas the PlayStation has an HDR option, a slider for HDR where you can turn it on and off and slide it up and down. And the Xbox version does not have that. So I think it almost seems like they're missing something, because I've played both and there is a difference. The PS5 version's a lot cleaner. And even in performance mode, it seems to run a lot smoother. It seems to keep the frame sync, at 60 or whatever. I think it's running at 60. Seems to keep it there for the most part, whereas Xbox did have a few times where it would hiccup on frames, and without that HDR, it's not as crisp, right? On the PlayStation, it looks just more crisp, whereas the Xbox looks a little fuzzy even in the performance mode. So, yeah, I mean, that's the only biggest gripe. It's still the same game regardless, and I'm sure if they haven't by now, they will patch the Xbox version to include those HDR options. My TV says HDR on, but it sure as hell doesn't look like it on the Xbox. So not like the PlayStation. The PlayStation, it definitely looks like it's there. So it's really weird. I don't know. It almost seems like Tri-Ace was making it for PlayStation and then just kind of like, that was the main system, and then they were kind of making it for Xbox as well. Right. And didn't really include all the bells and whistles. It seems like the versions are a little bit different in the graphical and performance areas.
Yeah, and Nick forewarned us, so unfortunately Nick got it on Xbox. Did you refund it, or do you have it now both on Xbox and PlayStation?
I have it on both, because
so now we're basically back into the Nick owns every game twice scenario, so there are differences, Shane, just so you know, between who you pick. There is storyline quests, and there's also a companion. Each one of them have a companion the other one can't get. So, I mean, obviously the opening story is different, right? Your opening story was you and your kingdom doing whatever. And, I don't want to spoil it for anything, but raises him on his ship doing whatever, and so the opening sequence is different. But supposedly, from what I was reading, because I was having a hard decision in the beginning going, should I play Ray or Leticia, Leticia, and I'm like, let me read a little bit. Let me just cheat a little bit, and I'm like, okay, so there's some story differences, and I'm like, oh, this guy seems more like Star-Lord or something. I'm going to play him, he seems more like the space vagrant or whatever, and I'm like, and the chick seems like a backwoods little princess, and I'm like, I don't want to play that. So I picked that, but then I read, there's a companion that's unique to him only, and there's a companion that's unique to her only, depending on who you pick for the storylines and stuff. So there is that, typical with these Star Ocean dual main characters type stuff. But it's I'm enjoying it. There's so much more to this game than I'm ever going to have time to get to, unfortunately. With this holiday season being gangbusters on new games, it's going to be a little difficult. And it's one of those games that you have to keep playing because it's so much in depth that if you don't play it and you put it down for a week and you come back to it, you're going, what was I doing here again? And why is that over there? Why did I make that boneheaded move with that skill point? Why did, as Shane would say, I put that skill point within that skill point and those 5 over there. And I'm like, why did I do that? And I'll never remember.
Yeah, it's the skill point system for me is the biggest drawback, but it is, in my opinion, still worth the money. You got a plethora of time to put in. I mean, this is a huge game. And, for right now, I would say get the PlayStation version if you have the option to pick. Just because it will run a little smoother, according to Nick, as far as graphics. I experienced no stuttering or anything on mine. So just to let you know.
You played on the Xbox? You did not buy the PlayStation version, Shane?
Nope, I played it on Xbox. I play all third party on. Yeah.
Well, I played it a little warning.
I played it a little bit on Xbox, the release version.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, from the demo, it seems like whatever stuttering or frame rate drops that they had fixed in the production version for the Xbox. But for some reason, I don't know why the HDR slider is missing. It seems like the HDR options are not there for the game. And so, the PlayStation version seems a little crisper. Also, I tried them both in performance mode, the release versions. It seems like performance mode, because that's what I'm playing it in. It seems like performance mode on the PS5 runs better than the Xbox for some reason. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's just a slight, I don't know if maybe the Xbox is not hitting that 60 frame cap and maybe slightly under or something like that. There's just some weird, it almost seems a little bit slower than what the PS5 is producing in performance mode. Hopefully Digital Foundry will do maybe a comparison and we'll know for sure what's happening there. But I think something is happening. Probably something they could fix for sure. But something seems to be happening on the technical side from between both versions.
Yeah, and I kind of heeded Nick's warning too, because after he had said that, I went and started looking at reviews and stuff online, and there was a lot of people complaining about issues on the PC and the Xbox, but not hardly anybody complaining about issues on the PlayStation. Like the PC had the same frame rate and hiccuping issues and things like that the Xbox was experiencing, and I'm like, Nick said the demo played pretty good on the PlayStation. I think I'm going to take my chances on the PlayStation version. So I did. I didn't buy the Xbox version at Nick's behest because I'm not a big demo fan. I don't like to play demos ahead of games because I want the release version of the game to be my experience with the game and not maybe something that still doesn't have the typical day one patch anymore. So I'm like I'm going to play the game when it comes out with the way that they put it out in patch day one. So that's kind of what I look at it as. So I don't play a whole lot of demos. I try not to play betas unless I'm just like chomping at the bit to play the game. So sometimes Nick will, and he'll give us a heads up. Hey, you guys should pick this up on this instead of that because of X, Y, and Z issues. So Nick plays everything under the sun. So he's the resident He's the resident Mikey. He'll eat anything. Nick will just play anything,
Yeah,
I'm glad I played the demo.
Not wrong. Yeah, I'm glad you did too. I play, my third parties are always almost always on Xbox. It's just one, because we game shared. Two, it's just it's just my preference. I prefer the controller and stuff. So
I typically do as well.
But Nick fired off the warning shot that it was pretty rough on the demo. So, but I stuck with it. And I didn't experience anything. First thing I did is look for the HDR settings and frame rates and all that. And but yeah, I didn't see no HDR setting on there. So, but I think we all pretty much in agreement here. So, you guys got anything else you want to say?
Pick it up today.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for listening. As always, make sure you like and share, subscribe, all the good stuff. hit those notifications so you can, find out when we're dropping videos, because we drop them all the time. We got our reviews and our news. And you can check us out on TikTok as well, doing just stupid crap. So anyways, let us know what you think about Star Ocean, the series, this game in particular, and let us know if you agree or disagree. And until next time, see ya.